Just like to welcome you first both to my channel. It's so nice to have you here. Maybe if we start with Trisha, I know obviously I know what you do, but if you'd like to explain to the audience what you do.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me, Amanda. Okay, so my name is Trisha Cadogan, and I run an estate agent, and we cover Wembley, Harrow, Kingsbury, and surrounding areas. We go through Willesden, Bushy, Ealing, all those other areas, really. So we do lettings, and obviously from this perspective, we're talking about sales, the sales of property, for first-time buyers.
That's great, thank you. Now, yeah, a lot of first-time buyers are on my channel, and yeah, it'd be interesting for you to sort of explain to them what, before they actually approach an estate agent, what do they need to kind of have ready?
Okay, so I'll give you an example of what happened to us just recently, actually. So we had an inquiry from somebody when we take the call, asking them their details. And one of the standard questions are you selling a property? Have you got, if not, have you got your mortgage in place? Have you spoken to a broker? And this lady was very clear. Yes, I've spoken to a broker. Yes, I know what I can afford, blah, blah, blah. So we then had the viewing. It's a two-bedroom flat. And she said, yes, she's interested. Later on, she then sent through her offer. She sent us an email saying she'd like to make an offer of so much. The first thing you do is thank you for your offer. I need your offer in writing. Can you send me the mortgage details that you have, who your broker is, etc.? And at that point, she then said, actually, I haven't spoken to anybody. So therefore, her offer is null and void. It's of no importance whatsoever. She can't be taken seriously. So therefore, one of the fundamental things when you're thinking, before you even go and start looking at property, and you've decided, I'm ready, I'm in a position to buy, you need to speak to a broker such as yourself. And you've really you will sit down with a broker and they will go through your costs. They will look at what you can actually achieve. And it's not a case of, piece of paper, I earn this, these are my outgoings, that's it. There's far more to it. So fundamentally, they've got to speak to a broker. They've got to the broker will help them pinpoint their financial position and what they could actually borrow, what their deposit would be, standard. And to me, that's absolutely fundamental. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time and making an offer when you're not able to proceed. It's pointless, absolutely pointless. There's no need
Yeah,
for
I'm
that.
quite shocked at that. So, I mean,
Just ridiculous.
yeah, I mean, a lot of estate agents do sort of say, can you have a decision in principle? So they really want
Mm,
to make sure that you've
yeah,
got the mortgage in
absolutely.
place and you know
Absolutely.
exactly what you're
Absolutely.
doing. So you mentioned
Yes.
viewing. So
Hmm.
when obviously if they've got all of that in place, that's great.
Hmm.
And they come
Hmm.
to you and they want to sort of, there's a couple of properties that they like to view because it's always best to sort of look at a few, isn't it? So
Oh
you
gosh, yeah.
get an
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got any sort of tips? I know you've
Yeah. I
kindly
mean,
provided us
it's
with a checklist, which will be linked in the
sure.
comments. But if you could
Yes.
say like a summary.
Yeah. Exactly. So really, sometimes again, sometimes it's quite amazing because obviously we're marketing a property, and that's what leads to somebody coming wanting to view it.
Mhm.
But within that marketing, there will be photos, there will be a description, there will be a floor plan. And sometimes I'm quite shocked at, sorry, first time buyers, you don't read the description. You don't, so I've had people come along and say, oh, there aren't two bathrooms, but it didn't say there were two bathrooms. It said one bathroom. And you thought, oh, there's no parking, but it didn't mention parking, hence there's no parking. You've got to read the description. So that's my first thing. And really think about is this a property that I could be interested in? Do your research, look at the area. Again, you'll have people say, oh, I like the property, but I don't like the area. Why have you come then? Why have you even asked for? So look, do your research, look at the area, look at transport links. If schools are applicable, consider the school, all these areas and consider them. And then if you're looking at a flat, we will state service charges, ground rent, etc. Sometimes you have a view of, oh, there's service charge, oh, there's ground rent. Yes, because you're looking at a flat in a purpose-built block. 100% there will be. So I know it sounds silly, but just, the basics, just think about these things. And then when you're viewing, look at the property. Can you imagine yourself living at this property? Does it actually meet your requirements? Is there likely to be family growth in the future? So therefore, this may work as a couple, but if you are thinking at some point to extend your family, would this work for you? Actually think about how much it's going to cost. What would be the cost to you, your deposit, your stamp duty, etc. Because sometimes I'm quite amazed that people haven't really thought about this, and then they've come along. And those sorts of things I think are absolutely fundamental. You've really got to, and really look at the property with a clear head. Buying property is, to me, is quite an emotional thing, but you also have to be practical. And will this property work for you? Consider, what are the bills likely to be? I mean, if you're looking at if you're looking at property with really high ceilings, etc., and huge windows, etc., look at the EPC. If you've got an EPC of an E or an F and you're buying a property, you've got heating issues going on there. So just really, really
Tricia, sorry
look
to
at
interrupt you. Could
property.
you explain what an EPC
Oh,
is?
sorry, beg your pardon. Okay, so an energy performance certificate. So any property which is on the market for sale, the legislation requires before it can be marketed, it needs an energy performance certificate, which is an EPC. And that will tell you what the heating liability is of that property. So, an A to a C, pretty good going, a D average, an E to an F, you've got heating issues. There's a need for some sort of,
The bills are going to be
heating
high.
issue. Yeah, your bills are going to be high.
And I know from my standpoint, there's certain mortgages, like you can get green mortgages if you're an A or a B,
Mm,
sometimes a C, depending on the lender.
mm,
But yeah,
mm.
as it moves out, they're obviously not new builds anymore. And
Yes.
they're, previously owned properties, and there could potentially be issues. So no,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
really good point. And with the
yeah.
viewing, I remember when I was a first time buyer and I bought, I really wish that I'd viewed the property during the day and gone to the same
Yeah, that's a
area at
good
night
point.
as
Yeah.
well, or on
Yes, yeah,
weekends, because it can change completely. You might not be able to get a
yes,
viewing at night, but you
yeah.
should still sort of go and
And you're
check
checking
out
out
the
the
area.
area as well, because
Yeah.
many years ago, we had a property, the buyer was buying it, everything going really well. And then he went along at night and saw that surrounding area had a group of lads throwing bottles, fighting, etc. Called us the next morning. It's not the area for me. So you know what I mean? So you've got to check out the
Do
properties that
your
you're
due
going for without a
diligence.
doubt. Yeah,
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 absolutely,
exactly,
absolutely,
exactly. And check out the
absolutely.
neighbours as
due
well, because
due
Yeah,
diligence.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no, that's
yeah.
great. And it's good that you've sort of mentioned service charge and ground rent. That's also important. Are there any other costs that you
Mm.
can think of that they'd need to be aware of that you would supply? I mean, do you give information about council tax, or do they need to
Yes,
find
so
out?
on all and by it's a requirement by law effectively now. So again, on the description, it will say EPC this rating, council tax band this rating, etc. We do have to put that in there. We don't generally put what we believe the cost for the heating will be, because we don't know. But it is something that people will ask us, especially we've got a utility crisis, of its cost of living crisis. So more and more people, actually, I must say, are asking, have you got any idea what the costs are for the heating? And we do generally now, we'll ask the owners, can you give us a rough idea of what people are paying to heat this property? Because it is definitely one of the newer questions, but we're seeing it more and more frequently being asked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, times have changed, and that is very important. That's a really good
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
you've gone to the property, you've checked
Mm,
it out, you've looked at it at
mm,
night, you love it, you want to
mm,
make an offer. What happens
mm.
next?
Right, okay. So it's again, people just, it's quite interesting. People will say, right, okay, at the viewing, I'm going to offer blah, blah, blah. That's all lovely. However, that doesn't really mean anything. So the first thing that we'll do, phone back and guess their opinion. What did you think of the property? Then they may well say, really loved it, would like to make an offer. We then need that offer to come to us in writing. So, and I'm not asking for a letter, an email will suffice. Within that, we also obviously want to know that you are in a position actually to make that offer. So if you have your mortgage in principle, we'll ask you to attach that to the email. Your mortgage broker, what are the details of your mortgage broker? I don't just want Joe Bloggs down there. I want the person's name, their address, who the broker is, their contact details, and then we're grateful for that. We will then contact the broker and have a conversation. Is this person in a position to go forward with that offer? They've seen it, and quite often the broker hasn't even heard from the buyer yet. So he or she knows nothing about this. So I'm saying, well, actually, I've received your contact details from Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they've said they want to buy this property. This is how much the property's been marketing for, and this is the offer they've made. Are they in a position really to proceed? And the broker will quite often will say, let me just go back and speak to them. They come back to us, and then they will give us the detail. Yes, we've gone through the affordability. They're able to put this level of deposit, and this is the mortgage that they will go forward with. And that gives you an element of, okay, this isn't a waste of time. Or as I said, if they've got their mortgage in principle, but really I like to talk to someone. I like to speak to a broker. I want to know that they are in a position to proceed. And then, and only then, I will then go back to the buyer and say, I've spoken to, or potential buyer, I've spoken to the broker, they've confirmed. Do you still want us to put your offer forward? So at this point, I haven't mentioned anything to the seller at this stage. Yes, we do. Then we will contact the seller and put forward the offer. The one thing I would say, we didn't say, but I would say, don't always make your best offer first.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because most sellers will think there's more in there. You know, you're not making your best offer. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to reject the first offer. It's rare that it's, you know, bang on immediately the guide price or something like, or very close to it. So in all honesty, I would say you negotiate. That's what it is. You're making an offer. We're now in almost a little dance, a negotiation dance. So you're making your offer. The buyer's going to consider of it. 9 times 10, no, it's not quite what I want. And it's then, you know, a discussion which we are within, really, talking to the buyer, talking to the seller. And it can take several days. Sometimes it can take a week, even a little bit longer, because the buyer may well say, that's it, I'm not willing, or I'm not in a position to go any further with that's my maximum offer. And the seller may say no, and then later, actually we thought about it, we do want to move now, it's a good offer, you know. So it is a negotiation, and we will be supporting the buyer, but obviously we're working for the seller, so we're trying to do the best by all parties, really. And
So
I think sometimes first-time buyers don't quite understand that.
yeah, the other thing I was going to say, because first-time buyers often ask me, so what should I offer, so to speak? So I always tell them, maybe it's just me, always offer below market to start off with. Don't match, you know, what the market price is, the market value is. And also, I mean, you can go on loads of different property search engines now and look at the price that properties have sold on the road, and do a bit of research before you
no, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, yes, sorry, I should have said that. That's a very good point. But I do find that, you know, people should be looking at, as you said, there are lots of search engines to actually see what things are being marketed at in that area, on that road. And you use that as part of your negotiation in your mind as to, you know, what your offer should be.
Yeah, because you can actually change the filter on some of those to put house prices, can't you? And see what it actually sold for. And then obviously you just need to tie the dates up. Because I hear some first-time buyers saying, oh, but it only sold for that. And I go on and look, and that was like 2 years
and that was
ago.
it. Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
It has to be recent.
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that's brilliant. I mean, if you've got any tips that you wanted to throw in that you haven't already mentioned, but it's been a really in-depth.
I think those are, off the top of my head, I think those are the main things that for first-time buyers, they need to know that they're in a position to proceed with it. Really think, I mean, obviously buying a property is a huge commitment. It's for most people, it's the biggest expenditure they're ever going to have within their life. So really think about it. Get as much advice. If you're uncertain, speak to mortgage brokers. I mean, we're always there to help as well, you know, to sit, and we're happy to talk and discuss it. So they fully understand the process, and effectively they know what they're getting themselves into, and that they feel more comfortable. I mean, yesterday I met, sorry to waffle on, but yesterday I met a buyer who went to sign the paperwork yesterday to exchange, and I could see, even though they've gone this far, they're very nervous. It's
Yeah.
very, very nervous about it. So we had one final look. He's been to the property perhaps 3 times already, but we had one final look, and he's like, yeah, okay, I feel okay. Right, okay. So then he was off to solicitor, and that's absolutely fine because it is a big thing. It's a big thing to buy a property.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've just thought of one quick question.
Oh
So
yeah.
apart from having either, the DIP or the mortgage in principle, whichever what ever the lender calls it, what other documentation do you ask them for?
Right. Okay. So Dahlia will mention this a lot as well. So we also, as estate agents, have to do money laundering tests, check. So AML. So we will also ask for a copy of their passports and also a recent utility bill, which has the address of the property that they're currently living in. And we then also have to do anti-money laundering checks. So from the broker's perspective, we are looking at where the funds are coming from to make sure that there's nothing untoward about how they're going to fund the property. And also then we also use a system, so therefore we run a full ID anti-money laundering check on them, so they also have to provide us with that information.
Okay, no, brilliant, brilliant. And Trisha, thank you so, so
You're
much.
welcome.
And
You're welcome.
we'll have not only your guide in the comments,
Yeah,
but we'll also have your contact details. And if
yes,
any
okay.
comments, if anyone has any questions, by
Yeah,
all
no,
means, put them
absolutely.
in the comments of the video, and I can contact Trisha myself to ask
Yeah,
her if they're for her.